Good afternoon and welcome. Sunday, the 8th of November. How quickly time's flying. We're heading very quickly to Christmas. This is episode 13 of So What's Been Happening. I'm doing it solo this afternoon. A couple of mates couldn't make it on. But not only solo, we've got a fantastic music guest coming up shortly. Good mate that's Melbourne-based, or was Melbourne-based, now headed off to LA. And been spending near a year over there now doing some awesome things in music. So I look forward to a chat with Toby Rand shortly. But here we go with, this was 12 months ago. It's hard to believe, but let me play this little clip that goes for about 4 minutes. This is a little intro into the show and Toby Rand.
We are the future, the get all the fast, it's never gonna last. It's sometimes easier to secretly judge than to spread love. I want to offer you some peace, the only light you need. I see the future watching me. Will you follow? You are the future kings and queens of tomorrow. We won't be silent. We will become future. To count on, to want a second chance. Did I lose you in the process? Did you take your final stand? And when you revisit, clutching on to hope, open up your mouth as it feeds your soul. Show me what you feel. I promise not to disappoint. Kings and queens of tomorrow. We won't be silent. We will become the future. Can we coexist after we've seen it all? Let us lay down the tracks and return to our throne. We gotta help each other, push open doors. Love will be the answer, not building walls. I see the future watching me. Will you follow? You are the future kings and queens of tomorrow. We will become the future. Merry Christmas. Give back. Love one another. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night.
How good was that? 12 months ago. It's hard to believe. And look, all the way from Melbourne over to live to LA. Mr. Toby Rand.
G'day, mate.
How are
you doing, Aaron? Great to see you, mate. Thanks for doing that intro. You said that was, that's almost a year ago. It blows my mind. It feels like yesterday. So much has happened, but mate, great to be chatting with you. And I I noticed something really good behind you right there on your backdrop.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Obviously, the Esplanade in St Kilda, where you played many a gig. It's changed a little bit since those great days when you played there, but it needed a reno, some would say, but it's still a great venue and such an iconic place in Melbourne.
It is, mate. I look at it now and I can just picture, you know, the band room being up towards the left there, where we would get prepared for the Gershon room, or playing on the front stage to the right there. And I remember that it was like a tradition every Sunday. We'd go down and watch the Nudist Funk Orchestra back in the day, and we'd watch Tony Coper get up and sing Dale Ryder Band and all these awesome times. And then we would, every time that we toured, we'd always stop in there and do at least 1 or 2 shows every tour. Mate, great memories.
Yeah. Absolutely, and can't forget the famous Phil Parra that used to do some incredible music, and still a great muso today. So shout out to Phil. He was an icon of the ESPY, and I've never seen anyone play Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan as good as him. So he was a superstar. Still is.
He is. I know. It's sad that some of those traditions have gone, you know. But I always have faith that the Melbourne music scene always moves on and finds its place somewhere. And you know, obviously this year's been really tough for live music, but hopefully we'll find some new hotspots that'll come out this summer that we can all be part of and in the creation, you know. Yeah,
it sure is. Look, it's just on our point of view, Tobes, it's a little bit different life in LA right now and the States, but where we've been in Melbourne is as you know, almost 8 months of lockdown, which has definitely created challenges, and no doubt the music scene's taken a massive whack, and will probably, you know, it'll recover, no doubt, but it's going to be a slow process back, because as you know, a lot less venues potentially. It's really going to be hard to get a gig. Not only that, we've got limited numbers in venues. So, I mean, that kind of creates, I've listened to a hell of a lot of music during this lockdown period and discovered artists I never knew, which is sort of, you know, between every negative, there's been a fantastic positive as well. So I'm really interested to hear what you've been doing during lockdown shortly. But look, we really are going to rally behind, obviously, Melbourne local musicians, most importantly, but there's been so many streamed gigs as well that have come on board, and it's a real mixed reaction what people say about streamed gigs. You know, the audio is not perfect. It's not a full show as such, but it's been a great way to touch artists and reach out to artists that have been able to jump on. And there's been some professionally put together gigs also, but there's also just been some incredible talents I've found that have just, with a guitar, with their amazing instrument of a voice, like yourself, Tobes. It's been incredible to be able to connect to so many different people.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we actually did a live stream last night, my band over here, and on a platform called Stage It. And it's a really cool thing, because we actually got to sound check with a guy who was, you know, on the computer with us, kind of running us through the best ways to create the best sound and get the video going at the same time. It was a little like tense, because you have the clock coming up and you're going to go live at 6:30 and you want to make sure everything's done. But mate, it was one of our favorite things that we've done this year. I mean, probably only a third gig that we've done this year as well. But so there are platforms that really create a space that for people at home who have never played in front of anyone before. And, you know, it's also good for people who are just starting to bleed their new music, or trying to practice. There's some dudes upstairs who are musicians as well, and I can hear them writing music, and they're using platforms and this time to really create music and get confident before touring starts again. So yeah, there are positives, mate, but there's nothing like a live show. I can see why people would be frustrated. I'm frustrated, but the thing is, you've got to make the most of every opportunity you can. And we're talking together because you created this platform to chat with musos. So, you know, there are good things that happen out of the bad shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, give you a quick overview of how this came about, Tobes. We were literally during lockdown, we had an hour a day that we were allowed out originally to go for a walk, which is kind of prison hours, really. It was really super lockdown, and you know, everyone's been super hard and critical on Dan Andrews and what he did, but I think in hindsight, he made mistakes, no doubt, but it's been the best, most effective way to get this sorted, and we're now up to day 8 of 0 cases, and long may it continue, hopefully. And that's not going to be the way it always is, no doubt. But going through that tough time, walking around an hour a day with a couple of mates, we did the classic reach out. I wonder what Jono's doing, or Macca, the old story. And has anyone heard from Toby? No. Or why don't we just, everyone was done with the word Zoom and jumping on a Zoom chat, and which is becoming the modern word for Google these days, is a Zoom. But people have jumped on, had a chat. So we thought, let's jump on Facebook and just have a chat and see who comes up. And then we decided, well, why don't we just go live? So we did that, and it was totally out of our comfort zone. We're not super tech savvy either. Then we just had a few cameras, and it was really clunky, and it was a great way to connect. And all of a sudden, different people are coming on from friends around the world, which was awesome. And we would never been able to do that. So it was never supposed to go past show 1, as we all laugh at. Show 13 today. So it's been 13 weeks of doing this, and it's been great fun. So I really appreciate you coming on, Tobe, because
congrats that you're putting something together, in the time, making something creative. I've started doing a few chats with some mates as well. I only started last week. It's just, I think this is the time to have the tough conversations and the good conversations about the industry and about how people are doing. And otherwise, life actually gets really busy, and you forget to actually just stop and check flies who fly in front of your face. Stop and check, just like check in with yourself. I know that relationships have struggled through this time, but relationships have gotten stronger, and music struggled, but music's gotten stronger. There's different ways to look at everything. I think that having a platform like this, the reason why I wanted to jump onto it is because every time that I've done a little chat with someone, it's stuff that I felt like I've needed to kind of release. It's very, very easy to kind of lock things in. Obviously, with your partner, you can discuss things, but you're not able to go out in the world. Like one of my favorite things after a gig is to go to the bar and have a chat. So you kind of created that vibe now where we can just talk shit, talk about music, and that's kind of where you'll find people want to jump on and be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as we know, it's been a struggle for the last 8 months or so, but it just goes to show you by showing that clip that was last Christmas. 12 months has just flown by. And for some would say it's flown. Other people would say it's been a real drag. So, look, we hope someone can get the joy of Christmas, which is coming up. It's going to be a very different Christmas to what we're used to. We're not certain that it's going to be such a large-scale Christmas that a lot of people are used to. So, look, I think it's a real touch point that I've come out of this with. Just appreciate what you've got now. And one, we're so lucky right now to be in Victoria and Melbourne with probably the best healthcare, arguably, around. And I know, Tobes, you've got family and a hell of a lot of friends in Melbourne. So I'm sure you want to just say a quick hello and a reach out to some friends and family and a quick g'day.
Definitely. Like, it's I want to say congrats on actually being able to go outside. I spoke to my father and my brothers, and they're, excited to be able to like be normal again. My daughter's in Adelaide, and they've been quite lucky already. But hello to everyone. I wish that I could be at the ESPY right behind Aaron right there. I wish it still kind of looked like that. And just wishing you all the best. Unfortunately, what I normally do is I come home every Christmas and go to the Boxing Day test and go to the pubs, and we always play music. I don't know when I'm going to be back, so I just hope that this will subside and that we can get back to some sort of normality early next year. I'm hoping that we can come out March, April. That's my dream, to bring the whole band over and be back in Melbourne. But I'm wishing you guys all the best, and just glad that you guys are getting back to some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, look, we obviously long hope it may continue for everyone. But look, it's a very different situation where you are now, Tobes. Between, obviously, you've been recently in New York, and LA looks very different. It's going to be a long time before we get there, back over there too. So tell me how it is over there at the moment.
Well, it's like, obviously you probably saw the news that earlier today we nominated the new president. So the streets are kind of packed with car honking, and there's helicopters, some celebrations and things. But one thing that we're also forgetting is that COVID is still rife, and it's still like really feeding, and like we're having the highest number of cases. So we can't really be together legally. I know that you can kind of maneuver around, but we still have to wear masks. We're not allowed to do the normal things. We weren't put on lockdown because we were told that you don't really have to. It's a big country, a lot of people. It's a weird time to be in a place that is built around the sun and not being able to really, flourish in it, but we do find our way. Like, we go on the hikes, we can still go to the beach, we can still go outside, but it's definitely a lot less restricted than it was in Melbourne. So I was, very glad to be able to have some sort of normal life while this is going down. But still, my girlfriend and I have just decided that we would just still not break that kind of COVID law, which is overdo it. And we don't want to catch COVID, and people are a lot in this country. So we're just trying to bunker down, work on things that are constructive, and work on ourselves creatively. And we'll go into that soon. But it's been really flourishing for us.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear, because as you know, and I'm sure you know plenty of people that have done it pretty hard during this time. So just like to reach out to them, and that's why we put this platform together, to reach out. And you know what, it might be just something we chat about or mention at some time, and someone says, you know what, I'm kind of feeling like that too. I am down. I have been down. I am going to reach out to a mate or a friend or a family member. And that's the whole reason we did this. Not so much how many people jump on right now, but the show goes in the vault, so to speak, and it's streamed on YouTube as well now. And we're doing an audio podcast that gets uploaded as well. So you just never know who's listening to this and when. And it was a case for us to reach out to friends and friends of friends and invite them in. And we've had different shows at times of 5 and 6 people just jumping on, and just none of them knew each other. And by the end of it, it's a bit of a connection. So it was kind of cool, So we hope we can do that.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that. I think that, by no means has this been easy for anyone. And I sit here thinking, retrospectively, thinking, it was actually a good creative time for me. But there's definitely been times when I've had to dig in and actually discover ways to get around what's going on in here. Haven't been sleeping very well, but that to me is something that I am just becoming more aware of, to work on myself and work on, hopefully constructively. But I know that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do that. So my comment to them is to kind of do the work for yourself, and don't worry about being judged if you're feeling low. You should be able to feel low and just navigate your way through it. You don't always have to live up to the expectations of social media, because a lot of that, as we know, is just a lot of horse shit. So just do what feels good for you. And I think that we're here because the platform created that you and I know each other is music. So music is a healer, and this has been a good time for us to discover music that actually makes you feel good. And hopefully people are finding that as an outlet as well. But no one's really done it easy. But even in Australia, mates of mine have opened up. I don't know if you saw that Facebook group called the Blokes United. My buddy Richard Maloney's behind that, and we know the culture in Australia that men talking about their feelings traditionally is not something big, Saying "I love you, mate" is more in the past it was kind of seen to be not that cool. And I think that what we've discovered with this is that it's okay to tell your mate that you're not feeling too good, and giving a bit of love back to your brother, and so I really think that platform has been great as well. Being able to open up and share your emotions and your feelings, and not being judged for it, because we grew up in Melbourne, mate. That's don't fucking do that. That's you're being a pussy if you do that. And I'm fucking over that, to be honest with you, mate. I was over a long time ago. One thing that I really enjoyed about coming to America is that they really did lift me up. They were like, you know what, man, you can do it. And I was like, no, I can't, because I was used to saying I couldn't, because if you said you could in Australia, they'd say, fuck off, you arrogant prick. But in America, that's one thing that even if they didn't believe it, they would encourage you to do it. And that, for me, was something that kept me here. But now I'm noticing that Australia is very much like that. And I love the camaraderie that's happened. I'm looking at, my Facebook post is obviously around the 5,000 friends, and then, their friends. And so we're all kind of connected in a way. I'm seeing nothing but real encouragement, particularly with the musos. yeah, mate, that sounds great. Great recording, great song, and just really encouraging people stepping out of their shells, because we are in a shell. We've all been in our own little shell. And we don't want to feel embarrassed of showcasing who we really are. And so it's been really, that's to me is a huge win that I've found during this last 8 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only have musicians suffer, but it's been everyone. Like our sport, obviously, between AFL and NRL, we got a season gone and done. But it was a real different life, a very different premiership for Richmond again this year. But it was so good to have an outlet at least to sit there and watch something. I know, as you know, us Aussies will watch and bet on anything.
I know,
other than what just happened the other day. To let you know that the TAB, our betting service that you'd know, Tobes, went down and we missed the whole Derby Day, or Emirates Day, sorry. So they $100 million lost, they say, for TAB because the whole system went down and was down all day. So it was disastrous. But think of the money we saved. So there's $100 million. There's $100 million that should be thrown at Musos. What do you reckon?
Yeah, exactly. Let's just put it towards like creating outdoor venues for the whole of summer. I love that. That's classic. Oh my God, man. Yeah. I mean, horse racing without having people at it, like the carnival, is a bit of a weird atmosphere anyway, isn't it? It's pretty crazy. But was it select numbers that were allowed to go to the race this year? Was that what happened, or?
No, so pretty sure they don't even think they had trainers. Everyone watched it from afar, basically. So it was literally the critical people, the horse handlers as such were there. They were supposed to be going to allow people for Cup Day, and then they abandoned that because of a fair bit of backlash. Look, you mentioned Boxing Day test before and coming back to Australia. We're hoping that 25,000 fans, which is going to look so different to the 100,000 fans that we used to get or close to for Boxing Day. So that's going to look very different this year. Look, we're just hoping we can get back to a point where footy kicks off again unobstructed. But it's interesting. The place that locked down the hardest now has got the best numbers for COVID. Other parts of Australia have now started to have these little blowouts, which will continue to happen, no doubt. But it's just good. Look, I really hope that America can look on with what we've done. And, other parts of the UK has just gone into lockdown mode now. It's just a case of you just got to get it done somehow. And some people take it really hard and, think it's their freedom to be out and about. And sure, it is. But I think we have to be a little bit responsible with the whole thing. The whole people not wearing masks and stuff, you just got to do everything you can in this environment to keep yourself safe, most importantly, and then the next person, looking out for that next guy as well. So, look, I hope those numbers can come down because they're horrendous at the moment, the amount of cases and deaths, most importantly.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like, I mean, when we first had the pandemic hit, my girlfriend was caught. She was on tour in Spain and France, and every time that she went to a new stop, the case had just hit the place before. So she was a day ahead of it. And I'm calling going, listen, I think you might need to consider coming back, because they're saying if you don't come back, you're stuck there. You know what I mean? You have to be in lockdown. Luckily, she made it with about 24 in the last day that they were shutting it down. And we basically were put into, we came to LA and we went into lockdown. And that's when we were like sanitizing the whole kind of thing. And then, as traditionally with humans, you get a little lazy sometimes. And then all of a sudden that starts, becoming a little bit lackadaisical. Then we see people not wearing masks, and it's just like, come on. And we're very consistent with doing things like that. So I hear you, and I think that, just a little bit of discipline. But, we've got 340 million people here, and they're divided right now. And there's power plays on, if you wear a mask, you're a certain person. If you don't, you're a certain person. So it's a whole big fuckery. And the only thing you can do is try and affect your circle. And that's what we've been trying to do, is just be really conscious of the people that we are affected by our actions. So, but yeah, mate, like coming back to Australia for me, it would mean 14 days quarantining. I'm prepared to do that next year, but right now it's just one of those things where it's I'm going to wait for Australia to kind of really get its shit together, which it has, and then hopefully I can come back and visit. We were thinking about moving back actually up until today, but I think we stay for a little bit longer at this stage. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's for the next half an hour or so, let's go into our little bubble, okay?
Yeah.
Let's pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist for a minute, and let's talk about Toby Rand, the guy that was outer suburbs of Melbourne or Bayside suburbs of Melbourne as a kid. Where did music first grip you, Toby?
Yeah, well, I was actually in the school choirs as a 9-10-year-old. My mum is a music teacher. She studied at Cambridge University in Britain, where she met my dad. Dad's a scientist, and they met at Cambridge, and they came over when they were about 25 years old. They came over on a boat, and basically Mum walked into a school job where she was a music teacher. So she always had classical music playing, and she's a great singer herself. And so she taught, gave that institution to me as a singer, and always pushed me into choirs and piano practice, at which I failed abysmally, which I wish I stuck at, but it's all good. I'm coming back to it. And then my brothers, Tim and Simon, were in a rock and roll band. So when I was growing up, they started a band when they were about 14 or 15. So I was about 4 or 5 years younger than them. And they were a band called Undercover. And they used to play every Friday night. When they turned about 18, they got a residency at the Bowie Hotel, which is a very famous pub. They used to have AC/DC, Cold Chisel, In Excess used to go through there back in the day. And on Friday nights, they would cover Undercover. So they do cover songs. And they became really, really popular. They had that residency for years and years and years. And I remember I used to sit out in the lemon tree when I was about 14 or 15 and watch through the window of the pub, everyone going off. I couldn't get in. And then when I started my first band because I was looking up to them when I was about 15. And that was at the high school that I went to. And we played at the school fete. And, we were covering like Pearl Jam, Green Day, Offspring, U2. That was that 90s. Early 90s kind of vibe, and Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, and it was...
What was the name of that band, Tobes?
Yeah, exactly. What's that, brother?
What was the name of it?
That one was called Exordium.
Right, yeah.
Exordium, which Exordium means the new beginning. And, even back then we were it kind of sounds like a Viking word, actually, but... my best mate Ted was on drums, and he was the type of drummer that would, at a gig throw sticks at people in the crowd if they weren't watching, and it was just like a real lot of fun. And my brothers ended up mixing a lot of those gigs because they were obviously professionals. They'd be drinking beers. We were too young to drink, and they were enjoying the fact that their little brother was taking the footsteps in them. And so the whole family was quite musical, apart from the old man. He'll hate to hear that, but he used to book like Chuck Berry at the school dances in Cambridge University. So my dad tells me all these stories now. He didn't want to tell me all those kind of drunken stories when I was younger because he wanted me to be led astray. But my brothers kind of did that for me anyway, so that's fine. But yeah, my brothers had a really awesome time playing rock and roll, and I just wanted to do the same thing. So by the time I was 18, I was gigging all around town and with my band, and we started another band called Tarko, which is Tarko, which is a pretty shit name. It wasn't like Tarko. And then we actually played a Tuesday night, and they called it Tarko Tuesdays, I think it was, and that was just awful too. But we played. We actually got to the stage where we had a van, a lighting guy, a sound guy, and a tech. And I was, as a 20-year-old, pulling in, something like in between 1,000 or 1,500 a week, just loving life. And I'm like, and that's why when we grew up in Melbourne, you could play 6 nights a week, and you could do covers, you could add your originals in, which is what the bands used to do back in the day. Like you look back at all the bootlegs and stuff, and you hear these bands, they, had covers and stuff. And Melbourne was the best scene for that. But the problem with that is that if you get trapped into the cover band scene, it's really hard to kind of separate yourself. And we found that pretty hard initially. And then I think it was when I was around 24, 25, we changed the name and became a professional band. We started like getting some songs on Triple M and Nova. And then that was around 2004, 2005. And then from there, that's when my break came to America in 2006. But yeah, it came from. I'd have to give props to my brothers because my brother Tim used to work at ARX, which was they built amps, and so he would always have gear lying around, guitars. My older brother Simon is an incredible singer, sounds like Tom York. Jeff Buckley had a brainchild, and Tim's a shredder and loves Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eric Clapton. So growing up around that energy, I was like very fortunate to like have a good knowledge of music. Like I listened, like Talking Heads was always playing, and my brother loved Gang of Jang and Hoodoo Gurus and things like that. It was really a really good blend of music. I think U2 was the first band that I kind of fell for. And then obviously, you know, in the 90s, everyone had to have all the Pearl Jam records and all the Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden. And so I think I'm going a bit all off skew here, but when
that's great, folks.
Still when I'm songwriting, I'm relating to the 90s. I really am. I'm always picking up energies from the 90s. And so like Chris Cornell's my favorite singer. So like I love the way that he utilizes his voice around a major and a minor that, you know, I think he's going to easily go down as one of the most incredible voices of our lifetime. And it's really hard to then step into the 2000s and find that much inspiration that doesn't go from the 90s or the 80s or the 70s, you know. And that's why I think that my songwriting is always kind of thrown back to that era. And since then, I've written a whole heap of songs. And, you know, some have been played, some haven't, and then there's a lot more coming out. So right now, fast forward 14 years, I'm probably in the most creative, fun headspace that I'm in musically. And I've missed out on 14 years of stuff that we can talk about if you want.
Mate, that's awesome. And it's great to hear it with so many other influences. It's fair to say music's definitely been not only in your blood, but it's you've had such great influences. And some of those bands, obviously, I've idolized my entire life. And I love that Chris Cornell has been such an iconic voice. I totally agree with what you're saying. And being such a big Pearl Jam fan, since a mate of mine said to me one day, you know, I turn up at his house and he's out with his brand new, which wasn't new at the time, but it was new for him, an E.H. Holden, and we're standing there and he's holding up his Pearl Jam album and he goes, man, these guys are going to be incredible. And it was the Alive album, their first album.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, give me a break. And the first single they released from that 10 album was Alive.
Yeah.
And he said to me, mate, these guys are going to be huge. I said, mate, don't wrap them up too much. I said, mate, this is pretty good. But keep in mind that whole Seattle grunge feel hadn't really gone through Australia in the early 90s. And then when it started to get a run on, I'm really interested to hear in why did you end up in LA and didn't kind of follow that inspiration and end up just kind of drawn into that Seattle feel? Was LA the destination for you?
LA came about because of the opportunity I got being on Rockstar Supernova, the TV show, and it was a rock and roll hub in its own right. And I feel like the Seattle kind of thing in 2006, it wasn't really flourishing with that grunge. And everything that you wanted in music was in 2006 was here in LA. Apart from the ever consistent New York scene, a part of me wishes that I did step out of LA for like a couple of years and go and visit more the East Coast. Oh, there I am. That was Rockstar Supernova. A part of me wishes I went to the East Coast because like now I've spent more time on the East Coast. I've realized how much of the musical influence I missed out on. But when you talk about the Seattle grunge and you mention about me not going to Seattle, we actually recorded with Rick Parasher, who did Pearl Jam 10. And he was our producer on Nowhere Left to Hide, our first major record. And he was incredible. We went to London Bridge Studios. We set up the drums exactly where Matt Cameron set up his drums from Pearl Jam. And we went about the same. We stayed at the Motel 6 across the road. We ate out of cans and we drank lots of red wine. Smoking Loon was Rick's favorite wine. And we recorded our first record there. And it was one of those experiences that I wish we took more advantage of. It was like 8 days of just hardcore hardcore intense kind of, and then your lack of sleep. But it was pretty insane that we kind of got to do that, and that's something that I'll always be really thankful for. And that kind of gave us a bit of a leg up to radio in Australia, and it led us. Like my career isn't something to go, this is huge and amazing, but it's been really solid and really, really fruitful for me, and I've really enjoyed it. And Los Angeles has been somewhere where I've been able to feed everything that I want to do. Like I can write. I've written music that's been in TV. My producer that I work with on my solo project allowed me to have songs in commercials and movies and trailers and things like that. So like these are things that you never know where you can land in Los Angeles. It's not one-way traffic. It's like everything. You can do everything. Working on a record right now for an amazing animation called The Pom Pom Crew, which is about kids music. I'm writing songs through the mind of a 6-year-old girl. How the hell can I do that? It's because I'm here breathing and living in this weird town that allows you to do weird things. Luckily enough to have created my own animation out here called Eco Giraffe, which is about a giraffe with no neck, and he goes on and he faces the challenges of the world. And I've written a theme song for that. I'm going to write music for that. This is not the rock and roll fantasy. This is actually just being in the music industry these days. Like everyone's doing cool stuff. A lot of my idols that I aspire to be like one day they're scoring movies and they're creating music for all types of different things. It's not just like being a rock and roll star. You are doing everything, like Tom York is scoring films, Matt Bellamy's and Muse are doing incredible work, Trent Reznor. These are things that hopefully one day in the next 10 years I aspire to actually be part of and doing things like that. But you've got to start somewhere, and Los Angeles does give you that. It does give you that food to be able to be able to keep on doing it. I can live comfortably here and not stress. There's work. And that's kind of where I feel more positive and more what I am at this current stage of my life.
Yep. Look, there's no doubt. How long have you been in LA now?
It's been 14 years, but the first 3 was back and forth. And now the last year and a half, because my girlfriend is from the East Coast, she's now moved here, but she has a place on the East Coast. And so I've been able to go back a lot in the last year and a half. I joined an incredible musical out there where I met her. And it's now taken this whole new path into this even bigger musical. So now I'm doing that as well. So this is where I'm finding the kind of fruits for my labor, if you like, because every day I am working every day. Like it's hard to not, because I'm my own boss, I guess. So it's hard to kind of not want to be always doing something productive, and yeah. So there's a lot of productive things that I'm a part of right now, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, it's so awesome to hear. So much on the go, which is great. Tell us just a little bit about the new project you're working on, the new band, Ashenmoon. I think it's a really exciting band. I've listened to some of the lyrics and some of the songs in the last month. Mate, some of those lyrics, man, are incredible, honestly, and so relevant to right now. I'm not sure if they were new lyrics from a little while ago, but they're just so relevant. They hit the spot so close to the mark now.
It's funny, our drummer, Zach, who's become a full member in the last kind of 6 months, we did an interview the other day, and that question came up, and he goes, didn't you write this record like before, these times? And I said, yeah, I wrote these lyrics, and obviously I would show it to the boys and they give us, the thumbs up if that's, and, not that the thumbs up was always agreed with, but I find them very personal, and it kind of foreshadowed a kind of lot of the things. And so when we put the first EP together for Ashenmoon, we had the lead single called Dust Bowl, which was basically this kind of song, dystopian kind of vibe where the world is kind of ended and you're in the middle of this city that's become dead, and you're kind of navigating your way around basically a dust bowl where you don't know where you're quite going, and the storm's been and gone, and you're now trying to find out where you are and who you are. And so it became really easy to kind of start picking the songs that we wanted to showcase who we are because of the current situation. So we put together the 5 songs for the first EP, and then we've got some great reviews and some great support from it. But lyrically, it's I try not to write things that are throwaway. I have done in the past, I guess, but I've always thought about what I'm writing. I don't, like writing about banging in the back of a car that has cool rims or anything like that. For me, I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of silly Aussie and I'm love puns. I love dad jokes. I love talking absolute bollocks. So the lyrics allow me to be the more sensitive, emotional, connected guy. So sometimes when people meet the lyricist, they're not actually meeting Toby sometimes because I'm exhausted that time, and then I just need to be silly. And my girlfriend can testament to that.
I think that's the lovable part about you, Tobes. You seem incredibly spiritual in that respect through your songwriting, but then there's such outlet where you're the fun Aussie larrikin guy, man. And that's going back through your band Juke Cartel, and that's where I met you. All those guys, man. It was such a fun time. And I'm sure Tommy's, he's off now, Mr. Yoga Man. Like he's really connected. And it's so cool to see some of those guys and what they're doing now. Incredible talents back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, like if you still put the boys together, there's something that's really magical happens, particularly our voices together. Like Tommy, Dale, and myself, Dale always said, and Tommy, they said they learned how to sing from being in Juke Cartel, because I was like, okay, we need harmonies, And so Dale always had this amazing voice, and Tommy always had the ability and a really nice high pitch. But it took us, the three of us, I remember we toured America doing a radio promotional tour in 2009, and the three of us had to literally go like 30 cities for 1 month and do like, the radio station in the morning, just the three of us singing together. By the time we finished that, it was like we felt like we were the Beatles, the three Beatles, like having these layered harmonies. That's one thing that I really, really miss, and that's what I'm working on with the new band. Like, surprisingly, my buddy and co-creator Gary Beers is a great singer. He just he hasn't brushed up on it lately, and our drummer Zach is another great singer. So that's what we're going to instill in that, because I think that camaraderie that I formed with Dale and Tommy was incredible, and I look forward to like going back home and having some jams with them hopefully next year.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that, because I obviously saw a gig that was January 2020, which was this one, and you had some others kind of rigged up, and it was all things were happening, and then the world stopped, right? So was that when's the creation of Ashenmoon, and what can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so Ashenmoon was we started as like kind of so Gary, for those who don't know, Gary's the bass player from AEST, and I met him about 5 years ago at a party where I was playing for a producer for a CBS, and me and Sebastian, my buddy over here, were playing acoustic in the backyard, and I knew Gary was going to be there, so we learned a couple of AEST songs, and he got up and jammed with us. But the only bass that was at the party was a left-handed bass, and I did Need You Tonight in a different key because I just tried to cut it for a TV spot. So I said, Gary, why don't you come up and play the bass with us, mate? And he's like, yeah, sure, no worries, mate. Good, nice to meet you. And the only bass was an upside down. So for him, an upside down bass. And I go, oh, by the way, it's in E or whatever. And he's like, you're fucking kidding me, aren't you? So somehow he managed to play, Need You Tonight with us fumbling around, and it was hilarious. And so we became mates after that. And we started,
really cool way to meet someone, right? And just Totally left field, but I'm sure he'll never forget that time either.
No, he does. He always brings it up. He goes, "This prick." You know, that's the first night I met him. He made me play an upside down bass, and I'm like, "Listen, get over it, buddy. You've sold 50 million records. Have a drink." And so we started jamming a group called Stadium, which was basically I was a singer for like this corporate thing, and we did a lot of In Excess, and we had Alan White, who is Morrissey's guitarist, and we have Jimmy Curry, who played with Beth Hart and jammed with Elvis Costello and the Heartbreakers, and then on drums Randy Cook, who was from Smash Mouth, and Mike Crumpus from Smash Mouth. And so we had this band of like rotating musos. We had Matt Rode from Jane's Addiction. So we had this band which was epic, and we just play these corporate functions, and it just started gathering steam. And then we used to do rehearsals, and you know, Jimmy would start a riff or something, and I said we should start writing songs. And then we started writing songs probably about 18 months ago, maybe two years, just testing the waters. And then it got to the stage where I'm like, this passion project's turning into something. We need a name. Every time we walked out of Gary's backyard studio, the moon would just be smacking us in the face. And we were all really listening to a lot of Zeppelin at the time, and a lot of 70s, and getting that kind of feeling. And I remember that lyric from The Doors, Ashen Lady, and I was just like, that's a passion. What a cool word. And I just had this imagery of like, you know, an ashen moon. And I remember we all sat out and just put our arms around each other, and kind of that was where we kind of came up with the idea for Ashenmoon. And once you, and I think musos will understand this, once you come up with a name for something, now its purpose needs to be fulfilled. Because if it's not called anything, then it's always going to be just like, oh, well, you know, I don't really need to fulfill that duty right now because it's not whole. And so I started just kind of like really throwing all my ideas. And then Gary, I was so stoked because Gary opened up his In Excess vault, and he goes, oh, by the way, mate, here's all the songs that I had written that didn't quite make the cut on, you know, Shabu Shabar or on Kick. And so he gave me all these ideas. And so I took this big folder home, and I would cut out pieces, and I'd chuck it into my desk, and I'd sing top lines over it, bring it back, and we'd create songs. And we did that for a number of them. A lot of them didn't make it, but the ones that stuck was the first song that you heard tonight, Future Kings and Queens. That was an idea that Gary had created late 90s. And it was just the bass line, and the kind of beautiful piano piece, the Hammond and things like that was just kind of added to the whole element. But I remember it was just being a bare track. And I remember just being emotionally driven by this need to kind of have a better world left for my daughter. And so that's where that song kind of built its steam. And then when you hear the rest of the record, actually Without Faith, which is one of our band favorites, is the first song we ever did. And Without Faith was our last single that we put out, and has become a little bit of a fan favorite for those who are following the band, my girlfriend's favorite as well. And that was our first song, but that was like we were cutting up ideas, and we were in the studio. This doesn't work. It used to be called Magpie and all this kind of stuff. But it was like a real interesting creative process, because I would go over to Gary's, and Jimmy would come in, and every time that I'd create a song on the guitar or whatever, so I just play a simple, like whatever that is, Jimmy would come in with this weird tuning and make it sound like fucking Beethoven. So I would do the basics, bring it in, cultivate it a bit. Jimmy would come in and just kind of beautify it. And we did that for about 30, 40 songs, and we came up with the 13 that we've kept. Had some amazing musicians play on it. Jason Gangberg, he's from the band Dorothy, and Kenny Dickinson, who played the keys, who was with Katie Tunstall. And so we had these great musicians on the record, and now we have an album that we're really, really proud of, and there's more to come.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for you to be able to tour that soon, Tobes.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're in recording mode again in respect of a new film clip.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Yeah.
So yeah, we the Future Kings and Queens. We actually shot a music video for that as well. We've waited because we were waiting for news about what America's going to do. The music video is based around inspiring the youth to kind of have a better place to be a part of. So we're going to put that out next week. After the news that we've heard today, we think it's a good time to keep the inspiration going. I'm all about saving the planet, and like the animation I'm working on is all about just making sure that the Earth is actually here for my kids to actually enjoy, which my father strongly works on as well. He won't retire because he just wants to always do things to help the planet. And then we have another mosquito. That the music video got lost, and now it's been found. So we're putting that out, and we're shooting tomorrow. We're shooting two music videos in one day tomorrow. You Broke Yourself Again, which is the ballad off the record. We have a beautiful concept for that, which we're shooting tomorrow, and then Without Faith, we're shooting that as well, which is more of a dark, weird concept. So keeping really busy with that, and in the meantime, we've been recording remotely in our studios acoustic versions of the album and acoustic versions of In Excess. Gary's the only. Obviously, Andrew Farris has got his country record out, but right now Gary's the only one that's kind of in a rock and roll band. And we thought, let's just let's do some different takes on some of the In Excess songs, and just because I think that it's really cool to enjoy someone's legacy. And after meeting Gary, he's become one of my best mates, and I'm like, he hasn't really spoken too much about In Excess until we kind of. Once we play the songs and once we start talking about it, he's like, you know what, man, we should just really enjoy the music that's there. So we're doing that as like a little bit of a passion thing as well, which is fun. But and we started writing again with our new drummer as well. So just things are looking good on the creative front. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, there's been so many flashbacks to 90s and 2000s plus bands, and In Excess has definitely obviously still been one of those that, the kids are growing up with it. My kids are now at 18 to 20 in that bracket, and 20 plus, and all their friends, mate, they're hugely into In Excess. So it'd be my absolute dream, and obviously to see yours as well. So to see some of these guys maybe get together again one day and belt out some In Excess numbers. And I couldn't pick a better frontman to replace Michael Hutchison personally. Then I think it'd be an absolute dream for you, Tobes, to be able to do that. Any thoughts?
I thought you were going to say someone else then. I was like, better hope you're fucking talking about me.
No, I'm giving that one to you, man.
Yeah, no, that is an absolute dream. It's not even a real conversation, but it's an absolute dream. I know that Gary, expressed his thoughts that if he was able to put a band together, he'd like that as well. But they've had an incredible career with different amazing singers, and let's do it. Let's just do a grand final day. How about that? Let's just do one of those. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. And interesting topic, grand final day talents. We haven't had too many good ones, and there was their biggest chance really in Australia to really make a statement with Australian music, and they kind of missed the mark in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. But hopefully we can get it right, and we've got such good talent here, as you know, Tobes. Doesn't matter where you are in the world now, we can get over and make these things happen. So it'd be so awesome to be able to kick that off. I mean, In Excess were incredible, no doubt. Gary is one of those, and you're so lucky to have him as part of your band now. Yeah,
I'm stoked, mate. You like just watching him kind of get back into that vibe as well. Like we did a live stream last night, and just seeing just the energy of playing live, it's something that's in your blood. It doesn't matter how big the stage is. You go from 80,000 at Wembley or to a camera this big, and it's the same thing. It's about the vibe. Like those who saw that last night, I feel I could feel it coming through the computer. I know we were talking about it earlier, how it's really difficult to kind of showcase the energy of a live show through a computer, but it's great for the musicians. Like I really enjoy it because I get to play music, and and I don't get to see my brothers too often because of this time. So when we're in a room together, the wine's flowing, and we're shit talking, and we're playing music, and it's awesome. So we hope that kind of conveys, into the rooms where people are watching at home.
Absolutely. So I suppose that's a good segue into what I threw you a challenge before, and thought, why don't we pull out the guitar, Tobes, if you'd be so kind, and give us something, and we'll give a little release to the fans and give them a little outlet.
So funny that I have one sitting right here, mate.
There you go.
One awesome thing that's happened to us as a band as well is a really amazing guitar company called Breedlove, based out of Oregon. Basically, kind of pseudo-sponsored the band, and they gave us these amazing, beautiful guitars.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
Yeah, this is incredible stuff. So my guitar playing is not as good as the vocals, I hope. Anyway, but we'll see how we go. This is a song that kind of has done the rounds with me. It's a personal song that I imagine writing the first time that you connect with someone, yourself, the mirror, your daughter, your mother. And that's kind of the evolution of this song, which is called Chameleon. Where are you now? I have your skin. Know your face in the world within. There's a starlight, your name to sing. The echoes awaken the voice within. Yeah, you know this, the voice that is calling. What's your secret? Where do I begin? Oh, you're changing the color of your skin. Oh, you're changing your face, my chameleon. My chameleon. The love, the fear, the loss, you see yourself in my eyes. I turn you near, we're locked, I see myself in your eyes. What are you thinking? It's getting late now, waiting to see the person outside you're aching to be. Yeah, the person you were born to be. The love, the fear, the loss, I see myself in your eyes. I turn you near, we're locked, I see myself in your eyes. What am I thinking? Ooh. There you are now, dressed in your skin. The world outside is born within. Look inside my chameleon. Yeah. There you go.
Unbelievable, Tobes. Thank you. Well, that's all I can say, mate. On a Sunday afternoon, a Saturday night in LA, mate, you reinvigorated my life just hearing your voice again, man. Honestly, you're an angel, man. Sweet. That voice is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. Like, and yeah, fuck. What do you say about that, man? I felt that. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. There's a lot of people that posting comments here that checked out last night's show. Amazing show. They loved it. This is gorgeous. What a Saturday sesh. Like, this is cool, man. You know, some of these people, these people will also jump on later and rewatch this later.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So cool to engage these people, man.
It is. It's like I've been so fortunate to have like a really cool group of people who are consistently there for me, which is awesome. And so to be able to kind of write music that connects, have a voice that people can vibe with, then, you know, sometimes it's very easy to forget that. I mention my girlfriend a lot, but she's very connected with this side of the things, and it's very easy as an Australian to sometimes just push aside some of the feelings that come with touching someone in a way, because when you're growing up, it's kind of like it was never seen to be cool to do it that way. But when you say things like you're an angel and you've made my day for doing this, I'm like, I shouldn't feel embarrassed by that. I should be celebrating that, and isn't that interesting how when I was growing up, you go into your show and like, oh, don't say that, but we should be rewarding ourselves for complimenting each other and patting each other on the back. Like,
absolutely. I mean, my comment there, people would say, as you said before, it's like, mate, are you for real? What are you doing? What are you saying that? You're telling a guy you love him or he's an angel? It's like, man, that's for girls, that stuff. It's like, man, we need to do this more and we need to reach out more. Big virtual hugs, man. Like, you're killing it, man. It's been a 20-year journey. I've followed it, man. I've loved it. It's and I really think right now, this is your moment, man. Like, it's really about to happen for you, I think. And not that it hasn't happened, but I actually think you really, from what I've heard recently, man, this is your moment now.
I really appreciate that, man. And like, I've enjoyed moments, all through my life and my career, but I think it's more about when you connect with really what you believe in and not taking outside sources that lead you astray. And sometimes it's always good to take outside of the sources, otherwise you're never really learning about what other people like. But creatively, if you're not being true to like your true self, then it actually can. I just saw that comment. I'm not crying, you're crying.
It's okay to cry, man. It's okay to cry.
I love that. If you're not being true to kind of, like for instance, that song Chameleon I remember playing that or writing that a few years ago. I actually wrote that new chorus about an hour and a half ago, knowing that I just wanted to play it fresh, because it's like everything else that comes with that song is exactly how I feel sometimes. Like just, but sometimes you have to behave like what you say as well, and sometimes you forget, and you have to check in with yourself. And my motto and my catchphrase that I have at the bottom of my emails, and that's on my staple and my stamp, is the world outside is born within. And whatever you're feeling inside, it'll come out and people will see it. I know that I get told that a lot, particularly if I'm being silly. That's because inside I'm feeling like I'm going to be a bloody rapscallion. If I'm moody, you can see it. If I'm upset, you can see it. And everyone just needs to own what they are on the inside, and it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about that a lot recently, about what's inside needs to be outside. Absolutely. And we need to be a little bit more vulnerable, right? And not only be vulnerable, but it's okay not to be okay a lot of the times, and it's okay to reach out to dudes, and guys and girls and have a chat. And that's the whole point of why we're doing this. So it's so cool to connect you back right now. Everyone feels all the way in Melbourne and Australia that you, once again, Tobes, you're in front of them and you're in their lounge room again, and we just can't wait to be able to have you back.
Mate, me too, mate. I'm super pumped to come back, and congrats on putting the show together. And when you hit me up in the email, I go, that's interesting. Okay. And I checked out the one you sent me, obviously, was with our buddy Rusty from Electric Mary, who's been a buddy of mine. Haven't seen him for a long time, but we used to meet with my other dear friend, Glenn Stokes, who's one of my besties in Australia and who did a lot of the touring for us. We used to meet at Southland when I was back in Australia, and go to Chowie's coffee shop, which when he was looking after Gloria Jeans, I think it was, and we used to sit there, and Rusty would be there in his shorts and his headphones, and he's a huge Glenn Hughes fan, he's a huge Deep Purple fan, and he would go, listen, I've heard your new song, mate. It's not too bad, but it's fucking not as good as this shit. And he'd be listening to it, and I just remember those members. So when I saw Rusty do the episode, I'm like, this is great. You're getting people that I look up to and getting there he is. He
jumped on for a comment before. He's a good mate of mine. We've had kids go to school together. And the funny story quickly with Rusty is, I'd gone and seen him in bands before, and he's off playing gigs, and I thought he was incredible, in the 90s. And to all this stuff he says he hates now.
I know. I remember, was it 2120?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're talking Thursday nights at the Grand Hotel in Essendon, and we'd race out there and hear the guys play, and then the Star Bar and all those kind of places. And man, that was like the bands were there, all those bands he rolled into one between him and his crew, and they were a talent at the time, and we laugh about that so many years on, and we end up reconnecting through our kids at school. It was incredible. And I was doing some t-shirts for the band Electric Mary, and he's like, mate, how do you even remember 2120? And it's like, mate, that's the kind of thing you did at the time. But what an incredible muso Rusty is. There's been so many, and Electric Mary's just really hitting their straps right now.
I know, yeah, the new records are great. Like, I've seen every incarnation of Electric Mary, because it was one of those things that we do. It was like, there's two bands that are my guilty pleasure to go to a show with, Electric Mary and She Had, because every time you go to either, and if you put them together, then fuck me. But every time you go to those shows, it's just a lads' night where it's just horrendously awesome. The music's loud, and I think we did a bunch of shows Electric Mary back in the day. The incarnations, obviously, Erwin Thomas playing. They've got Brett Pete, incredible Spider on drums. Like, it's just epic. I remember Nilo, who's now Fox is over here in LA. I catch up with him from time to time. So it's like real good bands started ages and ages ago that are still kicking ass, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the Melbourne scene and the 90s scene, where we could all play 6 nights a week and get our chops up, put some money aside, and create a vibe where people and an audience. So when you actually when you finally say, yep, I'm just doing nothing but original music, it's all there. There's your platform and it's ready to go. And then we had, and all those bars, like, the Depot and the Star Bar and Frostbites and fucking Mercury Lounge and all that kind of stuff. They gave platforms for every band to like play on big stages, and then it's up to them to take it to the next level, And luckily, I was with a group of guys that we got an opportunity to come over here, and we took it, and here it is.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on playing venues and bands, and obviously we grew up sitting here in Melbourne, thinking of places like the Viper Room and all those kind of cool venues, in LA. And what's it like, Tobes, to play? You almost played a residency there at one stage. You had some great gigs there, and it's such a small little venue, but what an epic place. Seriously, like, tell me a little bit about that experience, that first gig you played at the Viper Room.
The first gig was 2006. So, and it was awesome because my parents were there. So it was when we just finished the show Rockstar, and our band Duke got taken over by Sanctuary, who looks after like the Revolver, and they were looking after Slash, and they're looking after Fleetwood Mac. So they kind of put a big post out, 2 nights, Duke Cartel with Toby Rand at the Viper Room. We did 2 nights in a row, and that was where we kind of created a home for ourselves. Ever since those 2 gigs, which was packed and sold out, back then, you know, hopefully you'd sell out 160, 75 seater after being on a big popular show like that. And that was epic. It set us up to use that as a base for us to always have a residency whenever we wanted it. They'd give us a month at a time. And then we'd kind of tour off that, come home to the Viper, and then we got to play places like Troubadour and the Roxy, and then the big one was the House of Blues on Sunset, which is no longer.
What a place! What a place, hey? That was cool.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been there, and what a bummer that is to see that disappear. You know, as is the industry. But we were lucky enough in 2006 it was where that resurgence of rock and roll was still palpable. It was like, you know, Audio Slave had just done their third record, and you know, bands like the Killers and Muse were starting to really take over that kind of electro rock and roll. So there was a good vibe, you know, and there was good times, and we were lucky enough to have those opportunities. But as of now, we don't know which venues are going to survive. And Viper Room, I think the Viper Room did a Halloween show with Steel Panther. I remember driving past it and seeing the sign. They did a live stream from there. And Steel Panther, we did a bunch of shows with those guys as well. And like Ralph's a legend, and those guys, and they keep that vibe alive in LA. You know, there's always going to be that rock and roll vibe. You know, the Whiskey A Go Go is always going to be active. There's always bands there. I'm just hoping that once this all goes back to some sort of normality, the venues survive. I know the Troubadour is really struggling, and that is a huge, epic venue that everyone from, you know, Cat Stevens to the Eurythmics to James Taylor plays at, you know, Elton John will jump up there, you know. So I'm hoping that the venues, and these are not far from where I live now, and I'm hoping that these venues are alive when my new band's able to step out and get into it.
Yeah, what about the Rainbow over there? How's that tracking?
It's opened up. They've got the patio outside. You can have your pizza and your beers outside, but there's live music is the thing that's really suffering, man. Like you kind of have to get out of LA a little bit to see how creative they're being with live music. A lot of wineries, they're still doing they're doing outdoor stuff. Beaches. Me and my buddies are considering, with the weather gets better, we're going to consider doing some beach shows just for fun. You know, just setting up my buddies over here from Brazil, my old keyboard player AJ. So and my other friend Bryce, who's in the band Lifehouse, and so we're thinking we might just put together some parties for that, which would be great. Just trying to get creative with our time that we can't be inside, mate. So you know,
absolutely.
I just hope that you guys have an epic summer, and I just know that Australia will be really creative about how to play shows as long as you can get the licensing. I can't wait to see what you guys do with outdoor concerts and beaches and parks and stuff, because from what I've heard, people are already resigning the fact they want to be outside more this summer, and I can't wait to see what you guys build down there and do.
Yeah. As you know, the only disadvantage of Melbourne is the 4 seasons in one day component, so it's really hard to plan for. But you know, there's been some epic festivals in St Kilda on the St Kilda foreshore there over years. We hope they can continue. So it'd be great to get you guys come back to headline one of those. Mate,
I would happy to play first on the bill, which I've done many, many times. The only, you know, where I just hope that the record is conveyed and it gets through the speakers before you see the real thing. As I was saying with Gary last night, Gary saying that he goes, it really does feel like a really tight, good band, and it's because we're not trying to be anyone anymore. And you know, when you're aspiring, you know, when you're a kid, you want to be the next Blink-182, or I mean, you know, a lot of people watching this will say, no, we fucking didn't. But back then, if it was a popular band, you kind of wanted to be like that, you know. And now we're not going for a popularity contest. We're going for what feels good and what matches the energy that we put out. You know, even as simple things as artwork now, I'm right behind the artwork and working with credible artists now, Sarah, and creating an image that mentally, mate, you're quick. There's our first MVP, Umbra 1.
How cool is that?
And you know, and that feels good. Like I said to you earlier, like it's all good to write music, but unless you have a name and a vibe and an image in mind. You're writing for something that isn't, real. There's the boys. So that's Jimmy. So there's Gary over there, Zach and Jimmy Curry, and incredible band. Very lucky to be part of them. Yeah, we do like to do a lot of shots sitting down, because I think we're fucking late.
Here's one that's not sitting down. That's pretty cool.
I love that one. We love that one. Yeah, I live in a really cool place now where the sun kind of sets on the street, and my dog is just here right now as well, little Bowie. I'm really, really happy, man. Through all this, through this time, there's some uncertainty. We moved out of our apartment in Koreatown because, we walked downstairs. There were guys with machine guns, and the National Guard had to come in for riots and things like that. So we were like, shit. We kind of got out of there. We went to New York, and girlfriend has a family in on Long Island, and we were there for 2.5 months. And in that 2.5 months, I did a lot of writing and just kind of family time with her family, and Long Island was really, really cool because people were really respectful, and I got to see summer in New York, and I got to kind of spend a bit of time checking out of LA, which was going downhill at the time, but now I'm back in a great apartment and really cool neighbors, and the vibe is good. We have just good energy all around, mate. So yeah. It's so great to see you in such a good space, Tobes, during this period, and really exciting future ahead. So I'm going to hit you up for one more if I can, if you don't mind, Tobes. I might invite someone in to come, and we worked this out earlier.
That'd be cool.
It's Kia's. Can I introduce my girlfriend, Kia? She's here.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah.
Ready? Come on in, babe. She's been patiently sitting over there.
That was great.
She's giving me paper what to say.
Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Kia. Great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
And we have our dog who's now wants to do backups as well. Every time I'm doing this, I'm not playing with myself. I'm patting the dog. So
you could do worse than have a dog called Bowie. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. He's got one blue eye and one brown eye. So there you go. So that's
pretty sweet. All right, Tobes, I'll leave it with you.
We worked out an In Excess song, really basically from my part, but really beautifully on her part. So we're gonna try it.
Can't wait.
All right, here we go. You might know of the original sin. You might know how to play with fire, but tell you now, I'm not a committed in the name of love. Yeah, you thought what the kids say. Dream on, white boy. Dream on, black girl. Wake up to a brand new day. Find the dreams that washed away.
There was a time when I did not care. There was a time when the facts did stand.
There was a dream, and it's held by many. Well, I'm sure you had to see it's open arms,
Open arms.
Hey. Dream on, white boy. Dream on, black girl. Wake up to a brand new day. Say, dream on, white boy. Dream on, black girl.
to a brand new day.
Find the tears washed away. Original sound, play with fire. Original sound. Dream on, white boy. Dream on, black girl. Wake up to a brand new day. Dream on, white boy. Dream on, black girl. Wake up to a brand new day. Find the things that wash away. Dream on, bright boy, white girl.
Little boy, say girl.
Dream on, queer boy, queer girl.
Brown boy, black girl.
Black boy, white girl.
Play boy, play girl.
Dream on, original sound. Dream on. Yeah. Thanks, babe.
Unbelievable. Talk about tingles. That was incredible. So thank you so much for sharing that, guys. Awesome.
We thought it was
Phenomenal.
She was out plant shopping today, which is very rock and roll. And I said, babe, you got to come back. We have to work out a version because it's her favorite AEST song, and it's obviously it's been on working with Gary, like a bit opening up this whole music, and obviously current times. We thought it would just be apt to share that camaraderie that my girlfriend and I have in these interesting times where, you know, color, orientation doesn't fucking matter.
Absolutely. And hopefully we're in a position now that the world changes a little bit after the circus we've had for the last 4 years.
It does, you know, and I'm not going to get political, but all I can do is to try and inspire some new hope and connection, and well done for bringing a platform, mate. And this has been really cathartic for me to do something like that, you know, and it's not something that my girlfriend Kia and I have been doing, with her band. You got to check out her band. They're called Susu, SUSU, and they're an incredible band. It's two beautiful black women fronting a rock and roll punk band. I'll put the link in the comments. You're going to absolutely be blown away by them. But we've been opening up kind of ourselves to kind of these conversations, and it's been really, really rewarding. So thanks for asking me to be on the show, mate.
Anytime, Tobes. You're always welcome. It's been, we've had different music guests on. We've probably had 5 or 6 out of 13 shows. Obviously, Rusty was a close mate of mine and kicked us off, so we set the standard really high. It's fair to say, Toby, honestly, man, you've raised the bar again. So, Rusty, I'm going to put it back out to you. We're going to need the whole of Electric Mary next time to rip us a gig, because we're really going to set the challenge up. But just I won't take too much of your time, Toby, because I know you've been super generous, and I know you've got a big, busy day tomorrow. So thanks once again. People that watch and listen to this back, this is a special treat for the Sunday afternoon and a Saturday night in LA right now. And I really thank you for opening up your lounge room to us and letting us feel a part of your little family for today.
Mate, fucking love you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's been really great for me, as I said, and I wish you all the best going forward. And why don't we touch base in a couple of months or whatever, and I can't wait to see what comes up next for you guys as well. And thanks to everyone who's tuning in, and stay tuned for more music, and hopefully you guys are going to be doing great and have a beautiful Christmas.
Sounds great. And if you haven't heard of it, Ashenmoon is the new gig, the new band, the new CD's out. Please check it out. We're going to give it a smashing on Australian music airwaves, hopefully. It's a challenge getting music on the airways these days, but please, Australia, support this man. So it's Toby's time, let me tell you. We really want him. We want him back in Australia, and you're welcome anytime, Tobes. We'll push the doors down. We'll change the rules. Come back and see us, and hopefully we can get across to LA hopefully soon and catch up with you as well.
That'd be awesome, mate. Good on you, brother. And
thanks again, man.
Be safe. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Take it easy. Thanks again.